But Brandon, let's move on into our next topic, and we're staying in the state of North Carolina. However, we're moving to a different shade of blue, over to the rival of Duke, and we're looking at the North Carolina Tar Heels, where right now, Brandon, as we are recording this podcast, I'm chalking it up as a loss. Right now, 44-28. They could come back. I'm predicting they're going to lose this game to Clemson, as that is the halftime scores. We are recording this right now, but I'm just going to be frank with you, Brandon. Are the Tar Heels in trouble? Are they in trouble this season? Could they fall out of bracketology? Could they fall out of the tournament?
They're in big trouble right now. They're in hot water.
This would be their third straight loss.
Yes, and it will be their third straight loss. I don't see them coming back 44-28, and one of the reasons why I don't see that, and I think that Jay Williams had a really, really good comment about it. It's just that he sees a loss of soul with North Carolina. They just don't have it. It doesn't seem like they've got the passion. It doesn't seem like they have that want, that desire, that let's go get it. And it's been something not really fun to watch. Especially now 3 losses in a row. Potentially, and again, I'm just chalking it up as a loss tonight.
Yeah, they're 4-4
against Clemson.
In their last 8 too,
and that would put them at 5-5 in the conference, 16-7, 16-7 overall. That's awful. That's awful. They're just not playing well. And the other game, the game when they lost on the road at Virginia Tech, that's the one that really shocked me the most. You know, NC State, people can be like, how do you lose to NC State? Well, it's a rivalry. I know you're at home. You shouldn't lose that game.
Sometimes you play up.
But that one I can understand more so than the game against Virginia Tech, losing 80-69 in the way that they lost. I mean, you talk about, and we just came off of talking about how Duke had, one guy scoring in their loss against Virginia. Marvin Bagley, 30 points, and everyone else just kind of dribbles in with nothing. This is like an awful fantasy day because Theo Pinson has 4 points. Johnson has 3. Kenny Williams has 4. And you've now combined the 3 of you for 11 points. Thanks so much. That's like if Derek Carr went out and had 10 points, and then my wide receiver over here, Larry Fitzgerald, had 7, and then over here, my tight end, Greg Olson, had 2. I know I'm going to lose, even if 2 other guys had really good games. Well, Luke May and Joel Berry had good games, 23 points each, but that was not enough. And then from their bench, they get a whole whopping, what did they end up getting? 10, 12 points off the bench from everybody? Thanks, guys. Way to pitch in. I mean, it was bad. They played so poorly, and it's so frustrating because this is not something that you're used to seeing from North Carolina. I mean, the last time I remember they were this, well, maybe not. They had such a down year. Gosh, I can't remember what year it was, but it seemed like it's been really, really good for North Carolina. Then that year, then they got back on track, and they've been fine since. But this game really kind of says it all right now for the path that North Carolina is taking. This game against Virginia Tech, it really has set the tone for their season. Especially right here, middle of the year, you are playing in your conference some of the biggest games that you need to be able to play well and win, and they are losing them. They are losing these games. And now you're losing to Clemson tonight. Big on the road at Clemson, 44-28 at halftime. Ricky, this team does not have it this year, and they are struggling. They're currently number 4 in Joe Lunardi's bracketology.
Could fall after tonight.
And they will fall after tonight. If they're at 19 right now overall, if things kind of shape up in a way that's against North Carolina, if they lose tonight, maybe they're at 25. Maybe they're at 22. This is a team that is not moving in the right direction.
Let me ask you this. First thing I want to ask you is, are we having this topic today not just because of how they're playing this season, but because this has been a team the last 2 years, 33-7 both years, 14-4 in the conference both years, made the championship game and are 1-1 in the last 2 years, and now look like this? Like, is that playing a little bit to why we might be hitting the panic button right now for the Tar Heels, because of it's like you're up here and then boom, you're falling off the mountain right now?
Well, I think it has to be. It has to be. When you're able to go to these games, these last 2 years, championship game, last 2 years, and win it in one of them last year, I get it. You know, and we were, you know, when we had Matt on, what seems like weeks ago, but it was just last week.
And we talked about the Big Ten.
And we talked about the Big Ten and how Wisconsin has fallen so far. You know, this is a team that was pretty darn good.
They just dropped another one to Nebraska over the weekend.
Didn't watch. But I think that, you know, I was surprised at them. Yes, I get it. You lose your senior starters and everything like that. But 10-10, what at the time was 10-10.
Now they're 10-13.
That's awful. That's awful.
Yeah, since we talked about them, they've lost at Rutgers. I know this is NC State or NC. We'll get back to them, but the Badgers have lost. Their last three since the Illinois win: at Iowa, at Michigan State, and then home against Nebraska. They've lost their last three.
The reason I bring them as an example is because North Carolina still has the seniors on their team.
Mm-hmm.
They still have Pinson. They still have May. They still have Barry, Williams. They've got these guys. They're just not meshing.
Mm-hmm.
Something is not working. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if just the other talent is so much better and so much quicker and so much more reluctant to get good shots off and make good shots and everything like that, or what it is. But North Carolina has been uncharacteristically unsuccessful so far this year. The fact that they could fall tonight to 5-5, 500 within the conference is unbelievable. At worst, I would think that they'd be up around where Duke is. 7-3. 7-3 in the conference. Not great. Not bad.
Here's the one thing I'm going to bring up. Let's say they do lose tonight, like both you and I think is going to happen. They'll fall to 5-5. That means they're right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They'll fall to 7th in the ACC right now. The same thing that we did for Duke. If the ACC tournament starts today, they would be the 7th seed, so they would play the second round. First round would happen. They would play the winner between 10 and 15. So the winner between, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Virginia Tech, 11, 12, 13, 14. So Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh. Well, guess what? If Virginia Tech wins, that's a team that's already beat you this season. Then you beat them. Let's say they will beat Virginia Tech. Then you play the 2 seed, which right now would be Louisville. The thing, we don't have a barometer right now on that one because they don't play until February 17th. The rest of this schedule for North Carolina, I do not like. I don't like what I've seen, and I don't like what's coming up because you get Duke twice. You get Louisville once more. You get NC State at NC State. They beat you at home. I'm not confident that you're going to go into Raleigh, North Carolina, and get that win even. So that's 4 games I could see you losing, and then Miami could even be a toss-up. So that's 5 games right now. Syracuse will probably be a tough one. That means for me, the only automatic, I'm using air quotes for our audio listeners, automatic wins I have you with are Pittsburgh and Notre Dame. If that happens, Brandon, they will only have 7 wins in the conference. 7 wins. The lowest for Roy Williams since his 5-11 season back in 09, 2010.
That's what it was.
Where, do you remember the national championship game that year? Because it was a doozy. Gordon Hayward played in that game.
Oh, it was...
Gordon Hayward had a shot.
Yes, it was... who were they again?
It was in Indy.
Duke.
And... Duke lost. Duke should have lost too.
Duke won.
Should have lost too.
Why am I thinking?
Brad Stevens.
Why? I know. I picked Butler. There we go.
That was the national championship.
I'm picturing everything. I'm picturing the shot. I'm picturing my expression when it's going up, and then I pictured my expression when it didn't go in. But yeah, that's the season. I couldn't remember what it was, but that was a bad season. That was a bad season.
20-17 overall, 5-11. Besides that, the lowest a Roy Williams team has done, his first season at 8-8 in the conference, in the ACC. 19-11 overall. They still made the tournament that year, his first year with the Tar Heels after coming over from Kansas. But I don't like the rest of the way, because
I don't either.
I don't think they'll beat Duke once this season. I'm sorry. You're not going to beat Duke. You might beat them at home, but I still am going to put Duke with the sweep. I think that Louisville gets you, because that one's at Louisville, and I think that NC State's going to beat you. I think you got 4 automatic losses for me, for sure. And like I said, I'm not confident at Syracuse or even home against Miami right now. This is a team that, let's see, with 7 wins, I mean, we're eyeballing it here, but with 7 wins, at the worst, that would put you 10th. 10th. That means you're falling from, hey, we're playing day 2 to, oh, shoot, we got to play day 1. We got to play day 1 of the ACC tournament and go 5-0 to win the whole thing. And the thing that I also don't like is, let's say we'll go back to 7, because that's where they would be after this Clemson loss. I'm not confident that you'll beat any of the top 4 teams. So it's a one and done in the ACC tournament. Are you going to be a team when you get to the ACC tournament towards, like, you know what, we need 2 good wins. We need a win against whoever we get out of 10-15 and a win in the quarterfinals would really sure up. Or is it going to be, well, they won that one, but, you know, they couldn't beat Duke. So, I mean, they're on the bubble. We'll see what happens Selection Sunday. That could very well be the case for North Carolina.
Well, North Carolina right now, the way that they're playing and the way things seem to be shaking up for them and stacking up is certainly the rest of the way out. They may just be a bubble team.
Which is shocking, because right now, like you said earlier, they are a 4 line.
They're a 4.
In Joe Lunardi right now. I know Joe Lunardi's not the committee, but Joe Lunardi's pretty good at this.
He's pretty darn good. He's been doing it for a while.
He's been doing it for a while. That he's pretty good at this.
He knows what he's talking about. He has a really good pulse on what's going on, what's happening. But that's what makes me worried, is that they're a 4 right now and falling. They're a 4 right now and falling. They lose to Clemson tonight. That 4 is no longer a 4. That's maybe a 5. That's maybe a 6. If you lose to Duke, you keep falling, and you don't want this to be a free fall. Right now,
because I'm free.
It's a good song. It's a good song. But I almost thought about finishing it, and I didn't do it. But Pitt, you need to win at home against Pitt. You've got to do it. You've got Duke at home. You have got to try and play them as best you can in your own place, because you know it's going to be difficult going to their place on the road. Then on the road at NC State, like you said, that's going to be even more interesting because of the fact that they beat you at home. Now you've got to go there, and if you could try and do that revenge game and get that one, that'd be great. But there's all these ifs, ands, or, but, maybe this could happen. They need to just get a whole change of what's going on. I don't know if they need to do a whole players-only meeting. I don't know if Roy's got to go in there and say, guys, we've got to change the attitude. We've got to change the demeanor. We've got to change the thinking. Because right now, again, when you've got a guy like Jay Williams saying that I just don't feel like they just don't have the soul anymore, that's an internal. You've got to look internally for that stuff. You've got to change that. It's not just that you're losing games and you're losing it by this much or that much or whatever. Internally, what's going on? What is the block that you are unable to overcome? And that's, it's one of those things. It's kind of one of those deep down kind of hidden things that you can't necessarily see on the surface. And that's almost where I think North Carolina's at.
You know, it should have been a foreshadowing thing a little bit.
When you lose to Wofford, that's what I think.
79-75. But no, what should have been a little bit of a foreshadowing is, remember what happened before the season even started with Barry?
Yeah.
Where, I'm playing Madden, I got mad, punched a TV screen, I'm out for a while.
I mean, I get it, but it's very stupid to do.
That should have been a red flag of like, that's your upperclassman leader. Punching a TV because he got mad that he lost. Like, it's easy for me to say that now, sitting here at 28. When I was 21 through 24, let's be completely honest, I've broken many controllers whipping them at walls when I die in Call of Duty, or when I couldn't beat a level in Kingdom Hearts, or when I lost the game in Madden, I would do the same. But I was always...
So it sounds like there's just been a couple of times.
Yes. But I was always the person where, I mean, this is going to sound like, take this however you want, but I rather break the controller if I break anything, because that's going to be a lot cheaper than fixing my hand.
Yeah.
Fixing my hand or fixing anything of my body, or fixing a TV. A TV is pretty expensive. The controller, now they've gotten expensive. They're like $60, $80 for a PlayStation controller. So I learned to very quickly diffuse my anger. But one thing I was going to bring up, getting back to North Carolina, is you go back before the Virginia Tech loss. So only 2 losses, because we're not counting the Clemson loss because it's still going on as we are recording this. Before the Virginia Tech loss, North Carolina was on the 2 line for Joe Lunardi. They were a 2 in the East. 2 losses, you fall to a 4. So if you take that into consideration, let's say they lose tonight, and then just going through what I said, 5, that's 6 more. So that means you're losing 2 lines for every 2 losses. So basically a line for every loss. So you're a 5, you're a 6, you're a 7, you're 8, you're a 9. They could fall to a 10. And you know what else could really hurt them? And we didn't talk about this with Duke because this isn't going to concern Duke at all because they're going to be a high seed. But with North Carolina, the thing you got to get into is the more games you lose at this stretch and the more lines you fall on that March Madness tournament bracket, you know what could really end up hurting the Tar Heels? When we get to conference tournament and it's like, St. Bonaventure wasn't going to get an automatic bid, but they got an automatic bid, and now they've taken a spot away from a quality team, a Power 5 team, as we would say in football, that could have used that. Like, how many little guys this year are going to win their conference tournament and maybe take spots away that could have gone to a North Carolina team, but because they lost so much, they put themselves in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you bring up, again, you've brought up a lot of good points tonight, Ricky. I've agreed with you a lot tonight. I don't know what's wrong with me. But,
it's a change of pace. It's a real change of pace.
It is. Not really.
Also, I don't mean to rub it in because this is my team, but the Illini are beating Rutgers 41-22.
Wow, that's a huge accomplishment.
For us, I'll take a win. I'll take a Big Ten win at this point. Now, we got one. I'll take another one, please.
But I think you are right, and I think that the fact that Justin Jackson's not there anymore, the fact that Kennedy Meeks is not there anymore,
I think the senior leadership ain't the same.
They're feeling that. They're feeling that right now, and they're missing that a whole lot. That's what I think too. Is that they're missing the presence on the court of both of those guys. I'm sure they're missing it off the court as well.
Well, any final thoughts before we move on into the NFL draft?
Yeah, this is very disturbing. I really hate seeing North Carolina in this position, and as many people may like seeing North Carolina in this position, it is a strange one for them to be in, especially when you have a Roy Williams coach team. He's one of my favorite and best coaches, I think, in the game right now. And it's just so odd to see a team of his be 5-4, potentially 5-5 in the conference and struggling at this point in the season.
Well, I'll say this at the end of the segment, didn't say at the beginning. This is your team. So you got a little bit of an attachment there with this one, because just like Alabama's your team for football, this is your basketball team. This is the one that you root for the Tar Heels, and it's kind of similar to your football team that you root for, that it's either you like the Tar Heels or you hate the Tar Heels. I haven't met many people that are like, the Tar Heels, they're okay. It's either you're on one side or the other. It's the same thing with like Duke too, but it's the same thing with Alabama football as well. This is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Is North Carolina in trouble? How do you see the rest of their season going? Will they make the tournament? And if they do, what seed do you think they will be? Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section.